Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are running a bit of an experiment. We're taking a book that, everybody knows by name. It's a book that sits on millions of bookshelves, but let's be honest, very few people actually use it correctly.
Oh yeah. It's the book everyone thinks they've read, but usually they've just, glanced at the title.
Exactly. I mean, we're talking about Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, published way back in 1936.
Right.
And usually when we look at sources from the 1930s, we're talking about pure history. It screams outdated. Pre-internet, pre-smartphone.
Pre-Slack.
Yeah, pre-Slack. So the skepticism you might have right now is completely natural. How can advice from the Great Depression possibly apply to, say, managing a remote team or sending a cold email?
It's a fair question. I mean, it's from a time when sliding into DMs meant literally sliding a physical letter across a mahogany desk.
Exactly. But here is the hook, and this is why I was so keen to pull these specific sources for you today. We usually treat social skills as these vague personality traits. You either have charisma or you don't.
Right, like it's genetic or something.
Yeah, like your zodiac sign. Oh, I'm a Scorpio, so I'm intense. Or I'm an introvert, so I just can't sell.
But Carnegie didn't see it that way at all, and I think this is what people completely miss. They think of him as a motivational speaker. But looking at the source material, he was really a researcher. He treated social interaction like engineering.
And that distinction changes everything. It's not just be nice. It's literally, here is the physics of human friction.
Precisely. I mean, Carnegie spent years combing through family court records. He read biographies of leaders from Julius Caesar to Thomas Edison, and he analyzed thousands of interviews,
Just looking for patterns.
looking for exact patterns. He wanted to know why some people could command a room and others just couldn't. And he treated it as a purely technical problem.
And the data he found on the value of this human engineering is pretty staggering. There was that study from the Carnegie Institute of Technology that we had in our notes.
Oh, this statistic should stop everyone in their tracks. They studied engineers, people in a highly technical mathematical field. You'd think their success would be based purely on, well, engineering.
Right.
But the study found that only about 15% of their financial success was actually due to technical knowledge.
15%?
Yeah. The other 85%, that came entirely down to human engineering, personality, and the ability to lead people.
Which implies we spend about 90% of our education focusing on 15% of the value.
It's wild.
So here's our mission for this deep dive. We're not just doing a standard book summary. We are modernizing the master.
No.
We essentially decided to do a focused 20-minute script extraction. We've gone through the text and pulled exactly 3 specific toolkits for you.
And they are highly practical.
Very. We have the 5 social landmines that destroy deals, 10 actionable scripts for modern scenarios like DMs, follow-ups, giving feedback to an employee, and soft negotiation, and then 1 daily 5-minute routine to lock it all in.
I love that structure. We're moving straight from the underlying philosophy to a literal toolkit.
Let's start with the landmines. These are the social errors Carnegie identified that will completely torch a relationship or a deal, often without the person even realizing they've done anything wrong.
And the first one is definitely the most common. It is the homing pigeon of criticism.
Homing pigeon. Explain that metaphor because it's a bit of a weird one.
Yeah, Carnegie argues that criticism is futile because it instantly puts a person on the defensive. It makes them strive to justify themselves.
Right.
He calls criticisms homing pigeons because they always return home. If you send out a critique, it circles back to you as resentment. You think you're fixing a problem, but you're actually just guaranteeing the other person will dig their heels in.
The source material had a pretty extreme example of this involving Two Gun Crowley.
Oh, right. This is to illustrate just how resistant human beings are to criticism. Crowley was a notorious cop killer, a gangster trapped in a siege with 150 policemen firing at him.
A literal shootout.
A massive shootout. He's bleeding out, and he's writing a letter. And in that letter, he doesn't say, "I'm a bad guy who made bad choices." He writes, "Under my coat is a weary heart, but a kind one that would do nobody any harm."
A man actively shooting at police thought he had a kind heart.
Exactly. Even Al Capone, public enemy #1, said, "I have spent the best years of my life giving people the lighter pleasures, and all I get is abuse."
Wow.
The insight here is terrifying but crucial. Even the worst criminals don't blame themselves. So if Al Capone doesn't think he's wrong, what chance do you have of convincing your spouse or your employee that they're wrong just by criticizing them?
None. It's a physiological reaction at that point.
Yeah.
Criticism wounds pride, and wounded pride just kills the ability to learn. Which leads us to landmine number 2, the You're wrong slap.
This is distinct from general criticism. This is the intellectual correction. Carnegie tells a story about attending a bridge party where a guest misquoted a famous phrase, attributing it to the Bible.
But it wasn't.
No, Carnegie knew for a fact it was Shakespeare. So just to display his importance, he corrected the man in front of everyone.
Oh, I could feel the temperature in the room drop just hearing that. We've all been at that dinner party.
It was a disaster. The man didn't say, "Oh, thank you for educating me." He dug in. He argued back. The mood totally died. Later, a friend told Carnegie, "You were right, but why prove it? Why make him feel small?"
It serves no purpose.
Right. Telling someone they are wrong strikes a direct blow at their intelligence. It never makes them want to agree with you. It just makes them want to fight you.
That brings us to landmine number 3, which is the actual mechanism of that fight, the futility of argument.
The principle here is simple. You simply cannot win an argument.
That sounds a bit like defeatism, though. I mean, if I have the facts, surely I win the argument.
Yeah. In a debate club, yes. In business or relationships, absolutely not. Carnegie argues that if you lose the argument, obviously you lose. But if you win the argument, if you tear the other person's logic to shreds and prove they are entirely wrong, you still lose.
Because you've destroyed the relationship.
Precisely. You've made them feel inferior. You've hurt their pride. A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. You win the battle, but you lose the war.
Landmine number 4. This one hits really close to home for anyone who has been stuck in a bad conversation at a networking event. The bore.
The definition of a bore here is someone intoxicated with their own ego. Carnegie talks about a woman at a party who asked him to tell her about his travels.
Seems polite.
It does, but she wasn't listening. She was just waiting for him to take a breath so she could talk about her travels.
The waiting for my turn to speak face. We all know it well.
It's deadly to deals. If you want to be interesting, you have to be interested. Talking incessantly about yourself is the quickest way to signal that you are socially uneducated.
And finally, landmine number 5, the direct order.
This is about the misuse of authority. The text uses the example of a teacher who screamed, "Move that car," at a student who was blocking a driveway.
Which, to be fair, the students shouldn't have been blocking.
True, they were in the wrong. But the method, the direct screaming order, caused permanent resentment. The entire class sided with the offending student. The error is using authority to force compliance rather than leading someone to a better choice.
Okay, so those are the 5 landmines. Criticism, proving people wrong, arguing, talking about yourself, and giving direct orders. Those are the things we need to stop doing immediately. Now, let's completely flip the script.
Let's get to the toolkit.
We've identified 10 specific modern scenarios. I want to go through these rapid fires. I'll give you the situation we face today, like DMs, Slack, negotiations, and you give me the Carnegie principle and the specific script or phrasing we should actually use.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Scenario 1, cold outreach. I'm trying to get a meeting with a VIP, or I'm sliding into a DM to sell a service. The standard move is to pitch my product immediately. What do we do instead?
We use the Duvernoy approach. The principle is talk in terms of the other person's interests.
Give me the context on Duvernoy.
Mr. Duvernoy was trying to sell bread to a major New York hotel. For 4 years, he pitched his bread's quality, the price, the texture. Nothing worked. Then he found out the hotel manager was obsessed with a society of hotel clerks.
Okay.
So he went back and didn't mention bread once. He talked about the society. The manager talked for hours and ended up ordering the bread without Duvernoy even having to ask.
So what is the modern script for a cold DM or follow-up?
Pivot the camera. Don't start with, "I have a great tool." Start with, "I saw you're deeply interested in this topic. I have something that actually serves that specific interest."
You're not selling the product. You're selling the solution to their specific obsession.
Exactly. You are validating what they care about.
Scenario 2, soft negotiation. I need to get someone to agree to something, maybe a difficult request from a client, or a favor from a colleague.
This is the Socratic method. The principle is get the other person saying yes, yes, immediately.
How does the mechanism actually work?
You ask questions where the answer physically must be yes. The source mentions a bank teller handling a customer who refused to fill out a mandatory form.
Happens all the time.
Right. And instead of arguing company policy, the teller asked, "If you had money in this bank, you'd want it to be safe," right? The customer has to say yes. And if something happened to you, you'd want your relative to access it easily. Yes.
He's locking them into a pattern of agreement.
It's psychological inertia. Once the body and mind are in the yes state, it's physically difficult to reverse into a stubborn no. So the modern script is structure your request as questions they have to agree with. You want this project to succeed, right? Yes. And you want to avoid a rush at the deadline. Yes. So would it make sense to approve this draft today?
It effectively traps them in their own logic.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Okay, scenario 3. Correcting a subordinate. They're doing a good job generally, but there's one specific thing they keep messing up.
This is the but versus and technique. The principle is call attention to mistakes indirectly.
I think we all fall into the but trap. You did great, but.
And the absolute moment they hear but, they know the praise was just a manipulative setup. It erases the compliment entirely. The script is to replace but with and.
Give me the exact phrasing.
We are really proud of the work you've done, and if you continue your efforts in this specific area, your results are going to be even better. It links the improvement directly to the success rather than contrasting it.
Scenario 4. The heavy one. Giving bad news. Firing someone, or laying off a seasonal freelancer.
This is the face saver. The principle is let the other person save face.
Why does this even matter if the relationship is ending?
Because dignity creates the narrative they tell about you afterwards. The source describes an accountant who had to fire seasonal employees. Instead of a cold, "you're done," he sat them down and validated them.
So what's the script?
You did a fine job on this specific task. We are really proud of you. We don't have the volume of work right now, but you have a huge future wherever you go. You leave them with their self-respect perfectly intact. They leave as friends, not enemies who will badmouth your company on Glassdoor.
Scenario 5. A team that is just coasting, demotivated, average work.
We use the Schwab method. Charles Schwab was one of the first people to be paid $1 million a year in the 1920s, mind you, strictly because he could motivate people. The principle is be hearty in your approbation and lavish in your praise.
Lavish is a strong word. It implies a lot of volume.
It implies generosity. Most bosses are silent when things are good and highly vocal when things are bad. Schwab flipped it entirely. The script is publicly and specifically praise the exact thing they did right. Don't just say, "good job." Say, "the way you handled that client's objection was masterful because of this specific reason."
You're reinforcing the exact behavior you want to see repeated. Scenario 6. Delegating tasks. I need someone to do something, but I don't want to be the bossy boss.
This is the O.N.D. Young approach. He was a leader who famously never gave a direct order. The principle is ask questions instead of giving orders.
So instead of do this report by Friday, what are we saying?
The script is, what do you think of this approach? Or do you think this would work if we did it this way? You let them co-author the order.
Oh, I see.
If they come up with the idea or at least think they did, they will work 10 times harder to make it succeed because it's their baby now.
Scenario 7. Crisis management. I messed up. Big time. My boss is angry or a client is absolutely furious.
This is the police and dog maneuver. Carnegie got caught walking his dog without a leash by a policeman in a park. Instead of making excuses, he beat the policeman to the punch. The principle is if you are wrong, admit it quickly and emphatically.
Emphatically being the key word there. You don't just admit it, you attack yourself.
Right. The script is, I was completely wrong. I have no excuse. I am ashamed of this oversight. You have every right to penalize me.
That feels incredibly risky.
It feels risky, but it's actually the safest move on the board. In the story, the policeman immediately started making excuses for Carnegie. Oh, well, it's a small dog, no real harm done. When you attack yourself, the only way for the other person to maintain their feeling of importance is to show mercy and defend you. It deflates the anger instantly.
Scenario 8. Turning around a poor performer. I have a coder or a designer who used to be amazing but is slipping.
This is the reputation play. The principle is give the other person a fine reputation to live up to.
So we don't confront the failure directly?
Not initially, no. You confront the gap between their current work and their identity. The script is, you are one of the best designers we have. I've always admired your work. This recent project hasn't been up to your old standard, and I want to know how I can help you get back to being that expert.
You're trapping them in their own excellence.
Yeah.
They have to perform to match the label you just gave them.
Exactly. People will work incredibly hard to not destroy a good reputation that you've handed them.
Scenario 9. Persuasion. Trying to get a kid to eat veggies or a client to sign a contract when they don't want to.
This is the eager want. The story is Ralph Waldo Emerson trying to push a calf into a barn. He pushed, his son pulled, the calf just planted its feet and wouldn't budge.
Just stubborn.
Right. Then the maid came by, put her finger in the calf's mouth, simulating a mother's teat, and the calf just followed her right into the barn.
She gave the calf what it wanted, not what she wanted.
The principle is arouse in the other person an eager want. The script is stop talking about your needs. Frame the request strictly on how it helps them get what they want. If you do X, it will let you achieve Y.
Finally, scenario 10, coaching a beginner, someone who is struggling and feels like giving up.
This is the easy-to-correct method. The principle is make the fault seem easy to correct.
So don't tell them they have to start completely over.
Never. That kills hope instantly. The script is you've got the natural ability, the basics are right there, we just need to tweak this one small thing and you'll be perfect. Minimize the barrier so they feel success is literally just around the corner.
Those are 10 incredible tools. We have the scripts for DMs, for feedback, for crisis management. But here's the age-old problem with self-help books. We listen, we nod, we feel smart, and then we go back to our lives and do the exact same things we did yesterday.
Carnegie called this the forgetting curve. He knew knowledge isn't power until it's applied.
So, for segment 3, we found a routine in the source material to fix this. This comes from a Wall Street bank president, mentioned in the book, a guy with very little formal schooling who became a massive financial giant. What was his 5-minute daily routine for application?
It's the Saturday night review. Or for you listening, maybe a 5-minute daily review. He kept an engagement book, basically a calendar of all his appointments, and every Saturday night he would lock himself in a room and mentally replay every single interview and discussion from that week.
And he asked himself 4 specific questions.
Right, and these are simple, but they are brutal. 1, what mistakes did I make? 2, what did I do that was right? 3, how could I have improved my performance? And 4, what lessons can I learn from this?
And he admits in the text that this was not a feel-good affirmation session.
Oh no, he said it was often a very unhappy experience. He was frequently astonished at his own blunders. He'd think, oh, I can't believe I said that. But, and this is the key, over time, the blunders became less frequent. This process of self-examination is what Carnegie actually calls human engineering.
Because you can't improve what you don't measure.
Exactly. If you don't look back at that conversation where you argued with your spouse and analyze why it went wrong, you're just doomed to repeat it.
So let's unpack the big picture here. We've got the landmines, the scripts, and the daily routine. But there is a critique we have to address. To some listeners, this might sound, well, manipulative. Make them say yes, give them a reputation, let them save face. It sounds like a bag of psychological tricks.
That is absolutely the most common criticism of Carnegie. But if you read the source material closely, he addresses this repeatedly. He explicitly says, the principles taught in this book will work only when they come from the heart.
He calls it a new way of life, not a bag of tricks.
Exactly. If you try to use the Socratic method or the reputation play just to trick someone, they will smell it a mile away. The underlying shift isn't about manipulation, it's about shifting your focus from self to other.
It's authentic curiosity.
Yes, it's about actually caring what the other person wants, actually noticing their good work, and actually valuing their dignity. The scripts are really just the delivery mechanism for that empathy.
I want to leave you with a thought from the book's introduction that really stuck with me. We obsess over degrees and certifications. But the text quotes a former president of Princeton who said, education is the ability to meet life's situations.
It's a powerful definition.
It really is. You can have a PhD, but if you can't handle a difficult employee without causing resentment, are you actually educated? Carnegie calls this an action book. If you just agree with it intellectually, you haven't learned it. You are only educated if you do something with it.
That's the real test.
So that is our challenge to you today. Don't try to memorize all 10 scripts. Just pick one. Maybe it's the face saver with your kids. Maybe it's the Duvernay approach on your next sales DM. Or maybe it's just the police and dog admitting you're wrong before someone else can even say it.
Try it out. See if the temperature in the room changes. See if the resistance just melts away.
And let us know how it goes. Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you in the next one.